Oh my gosh, I got you two here today. I love it. I have Ellen and Debbie. We're gonna have a nice little fun call today with just the two of us. Oh, we have three. Alex is here too. Okay, cool. So I'm going to talk today about my lazy lead nurture blueprint. So hold on. Let me just ping my admin and see where she's at. So she can be on here too, because she has things we have to share. Okay, here we are. Okay, we're here. So good morning. How's everyone doing? Super small. So talk to me today, please. I have this like new desk set up, and it's like hard to get it to be ergonomically friendly because I have a Mac, and even though it's up on books, like it's just the neck in the arm thing. It's just weird. Okay. Anyway, Debbie, you know what I'm talking about? You have a Mac too? Okay. So we're talking about the lazy lead nurture blueprint. I was on the call last week and I talked about, having, yes, Suma, it is a standing, it's a sit stand. And so it's hard. It's not that, it's the getting the computer to match with the height. Okay, sorry. We talked about having stories. We talked about storytelling. And then on Wendy's call on Tuesday, I talked a lot more about storytelling. Was everyone here on that call?
No. Mm-mm.
No. Well, too bad, because it was great. It was an awesome call. She had a lot. Too bad for you. You missed out. She'll have the replays. She's like clipping up the replays, and she's going to be sending those out. So if there's a portion of that you want to see, I think she's going to have it available for purchase. So, anywho. Okay, so I'm going to talk about what I call the lazy lead nurture blueprint. Okay, the lazy lead nurture blueprint is all about exactly what it says: how to nurture leads and be lazy all at the same time. I'm not like, I know I am a hard worker. I like to work hard, but I also like to be lazy. Okay. I also don't like to work when I don't want to work. Okay. I'm very particular about my personal time. If you've seen me talk about my calendar training, how many of you watch my calendar training? Okay. I have a lot of personal time on my calendar because that's my life. I like Lynea. I like to spend time with myself. I like to spend time with my friends and my husband. I don't like to work all the time. I just don't like it. But I do like to have a thriving, successful business. And so what I figured out how to do was how to nurture leads and be lazy at the same time. So it's kind of a little bit of both. And you're probably not going to be surprised to find out that it comes with, telling stories. So on Wendy's call on Tuesday, the reason I asked if you were there is because I did a 15-minute segment on the power of storytelling. And I can re-go over that if y'all want to see that again, because I had to go through that so fast. I was like, I talk really fast anyway, but I gotta tell you, I was like, okay. Anyway, so here we are. But I want to tell you, like, what I brought up was like having your evergreen 6 to 8. So the evergreen 6 to 8 is having your stories. You only need 6 to 8 stories that you're using to do what you need to do. So these 6 to 8 stories are going to be used in everywhere, not only in content to attract your client, but you're going to use these stories in your consultations, in your networking, at your conferences. You're going to use these stories everywhere. Especially you're going to use these stories in your email drip campaigns. And so what happens when you have these 6 to 8 evergreen stories is that each story that you have, you're going to have like 5 to 8 more stories within that story. Because with each client that you serve, you're learning one big thing, and there's 5 to 8 different things that you can speak about that client, right? Like it's not just like a testimonial. Okay, cool, I got a testimonial and that's it, right? There was a lot that you had to do to get that testimonial. There's a lot of lessons you had to learn. Like earlier this year, my very first closing of the year, I had a client who was looking for a vacation property. And we started out with them actually calling me because they wanted to sell their house and then look up for a lakefront property out in our area. And then they realized, I don't actually want to spend that much money because my area is super expensive, when they could, go 3 hours south toward the ocean and get an oceanfront property for literally a half price, if less, than what they were going to spend here. And so we started out finding them a piece of vacant land. And it was this perfect land. It was amazing. I set them up with the builder. We had a whole builder connection there. They had done all the feasibility. We got to 3 days before closing and we were told, okay, well, we're going to have to, the seller needs some issue. The seller couldn't sign. We have to delay closing from the seller side. And we said, okay, no problem. Closing day. I get a call, an email from escrow says, we're not going to be able to close on this transaction unless A, B, C, D. When you get a call from escrow saying we're not going to be able to close, something's wrong. Something is wrong, right? And so I was like, okay, what is wrong? So I called escrow. I'm like, okay, this is honestly the first time I've ever had escrow tell me we can't close. So there's something here that I'm not familiar with. Turns out the seller was fraudulent and they had called this agent from realtor.com and had said, hey, I want you to sell my piece of vacant land. And realtor said, sure, no problem. I'll sell it for you. Great, no problem, whatever, right? It had been on the market twice and had failed sale twice. The agent took it. Okay, we put an offer on it, cash offer, by the way, and my clients were getting money from an inheritance. So they had put down earnest money. They had just about wired money to escrow for a very large amount, by the way, because they're buying a piece of land. And they'd already put that in deposits with the builders, already gone through all the plans. Everything was ready to go. Find out it's a fraudulent transaction. Okay. When I got the testimonial, it just said, Lynea, Carver was amazing, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I can probably read the testimonial if you want. But within that story, what did you learn? You learned a lot. I saw some of your faces were like, oh, fraudulent, right? Fraudulent transaction. How many of you ever worked in a fraudulent deal? How many of you ever done that before? Okay. I hadn't either. And now I know some red flags. And then, what happened is right after we ended up closing or canceling, we saw the house that same piece of land go on the market again. So I called the agent, listing agent called the agent, and we were like, just so you know, this is fraud. This is fraud. So the person just kept trying to sell. Then it turns out that in this particular area in Washington, there's a lot of fraudulent transactions because there's a lot of vacant land because it's an oceanfront, it's an ocean area, resort area. A lot of people go there to retire. And so there's the escrow companies down there have a lot of training around signs of fraud. I didn't know this. So within in this one transaction, and long story short, we ended up finding them another house and the house is beautiful and it's like awesome and they party at it all the time. It's like a big party house, right? So in this one story, how many stories do I have to share with my future clients? Tons. This is why you need an agent. This is why you need to trust escrow. This is why you've got to have a process, right? This is why there's so many this is whys. Okay. But instead of me just going to my clients and saying, hey, this is why you should never just go to find someone on realtor.com. That's not as powerful as me saying, hey, you know what actually happened earlier this year? I had a client who did that. We tell them the story. So when you have your evergreen 6 to 8 stories, within each of those stories, there are so many different lessons you can learn. Make sense?
Yes.
That's why I call it the lazy lead nurture blueprint, because all you have to do is tell these stories and you put those into your drip campaigns, you put those into your newsletters, you put those onto your content. So when you're getting a 5-star review from a client, you're choosing which story about that particular client you want to tell with this particular review. And then next month, you share the exact same review because on social media, no one freaking knows. They don't even know. Okay. You share the exact same review with a different part of the story. And guess what happens? A, if you don't have any business, you look like you have business. So there's that. B, you're showcasing what you do. You're showing people what you do versus just telling them what you do. Because I'm going to tell you, every single one of us probably has a very similar process. We meet a client, we get on a consultation call, we go through our education process. There's some probably nuances in there. We get them onboarded, we get the agreement signed, we go out house hunting, we get them in contract, we negotiate, we close, we give them a closing gift, and la la la. Okay, that's pretty much how the real estate process works, right? But if I'm telling you I'm an excellent negotiator, but I'm not showing you that I'm an excellent negotiator, if I'm telling you that I'm going to guide you step by step, but I'm not showing you that I'm going to guide you step by step, why do they trust me? No reason. Alex just put in the chat, I am the gift. Yes, Alex, you are the gift. And you are the gift because you have to, you tell people stories. Alex is pretty awesome. We all know this, okay? Alex is pretty awesome. Alex is also really good about sharing his client journey on testimonials. So if you want to know how to actually post a testimonial and make it actually be effective, look at Alex's. Some people I see being like, oh, yay, 5-star review. Yay for me. Woohoo. While I'm excited for you, I am much more interested in what you actually did to earn that 5-star review. Make sense? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example of what a story bank looks like. I'll give you a couple examples of how this looks in your drip campaigns. I'm a huge proponent for putting your stories in your drip campaigns. And yes, I am talking about your personal stories. I have weeded out a lot of people in my email drip campaigns because of my emails. And it's fantastic. I freaking love it. I have people who are like, stop emailing me now. And I'm going to tell you, mostly it's because their values probably don't align with mine. And I know because of the particular email that gets the most stops, it's a values-based email. And I have very strong values. I'm sure you all do too. So in my emails, and I'll see if I can find, I was trying to look for it earlier before the call, but you know how that goes. It's Friday morning. So I'll find out. I'll see if I can find a few and I'll show it to you. But I get probably the one that I get the most stops from. And it's fantastic. I love it. I get a lot where people are like, okay, I want more. I love your content, right? I get a lot of those too. But I particularly want the ones where they say stop. Because what that's doing for me is it's helping me. It's basically telling them, I am not for you. I am not for you. And I don't want to be for everybody. I don't want just every deal. I want mine. I want my clients. And the clients who are going to go down the journey with me and they're going to follow me, those are the ones I want to work with. So by the time they've actually called me, I don't even have to try at this point. Now, there's some that come from referrals and they might be interviewing a couple. So there's an exception. But for the most part, they're coming through my email campaigns, right? I'm telling stories on my email campaigns. And they're like, oh yeah, how many of you are on my email campaign, like to agents? Do any of you get my emails to agents? Okay. Do you see the stories that I'm telling in those emails? Right. So it's just so you know, if you're seeing those emails, by the way, a lot of those are repurposed from my actual campaigns to my real estate clients. So there you go. If you like one, you see one, there you go. R&D that one right there. That's cool. I'm cool with that. Please do. Because I will tell you, they make a big difference. And those also to real estate agents, I get so much response from those too, because there's a lot of personal connection there. Some people are like, I don't want to read this. It's really long. Totally fine. I don't care. Does not hurt my feelings. It really doesn't. So here we go. Let me show you what a story bank looks like. Hold on. Let me find the right screen to share here. I've got a few open. I had to relaunch my, Google Chrome this morning. Okay, so this is a story bank. Okay, so inside the story bank, I've got 14. I'm telling you, you only need 6 to 8, and it took me a long time to build 6 to 8. Okay, so here's the stories that I tell from bankrupt to homeowner, my journey to my first house. Who is that going to connect with? Just by the title, who's that going to connect with? Anybody. Who's that going to connect with?
Someone who filed bankruptcy.
Yeah, someone who might be having credit issues, someone who might have filed bankruptcy, someone who might think that they don't ever deserve to buy a house. There's a lot of mindset things when you go through when you file bankruptcy. I've been there. It's a big mindset thing, and to think you actually deserve to buy a house is a big thing. So it really depends on how I want to spin that story, right? What about beyond the agent, my why in real estate? Who's that going to connect with?
people who are like-minded or who have a similar journey.
Right. The people that I want to connect with, the people who care. These are the people I want them to get to know me, because guess what? When I go to a buyer consult or I go to a listing consult, do you think I want to be spending that whole time talking about me? No, because that's going to take up an hour of my time. But if I'm going to a buyer consult or I'm going to a listing consult and they've already gone through all of this, do you know how easy the conversation is? It's so easy. It's like, hey, let's talk about you. Let me ask questions about you. Let me get to know you. You've gotten to know me. Or what questions do you have for me? It's just such an easier conversation, right? Okay, so I'll give you an example of what one of the stories looks like. So story 1, the time I lost everything and started over, lessons in resilience. Okay, come on, Notion. Work for me. Google Chrome telling you this morning is driving me nuts. Okay, so I have in my story bank, I have it all broken down. Okay, I have the title, the situation, who's it going to connect with, the big idea behind it, what type of story it is, where did I learn about the story, and then what's the ultimate recap. So the time I lost everything and started over, lessons in resilience. My ability to adapt, connect with diverse clients, and handle challenges has led to a successful real estate career built on trust and client satisfaction. That is what I want you to learn from this story. So I break it down. I say, okay, here's what I go through. This is actually my whole journey of how I create these stories. I go through and I'm like, okay, let me have a brainstorming session. Y'all know I love to have a pen and paper. I was talking to an agent yesterday and she's like, I don't know what to post. I was like, okay, go get your notebook. She's like, do I have to write? And I was like, you do. She's like, how did I know? I was like, yeah, you know me. Okay. I have a pen and paper and a notebook, a good old fashioned notebook. Some of you like Apple Pen. Some of you like the Remarkable tablet, whatever it is. I don't really care. You can do whatever you want. I don't care. I like a good old, remember these from like elementary school composition notebooks? Okay. What did I have? This is like a science notebook or however I did this in school. Anyway, this is what I do. And you see, gosh, it's so blurry. I don't want to unblur my screen. You don't choose my background. But look, writing, you get it, right? Writing. Right. I write a lot. And this is what I do. I actually went through every few months and I say, okay, who are my clients this year and what are their stories? Who are my clients this year and what are their stories? How do I tell my stories? What are they? I have so many. Sharon and Ron, the risks of fraudulent transactions. Another one, taking a risk to sell without having a home to buy. Getting heartbroken, then winning, and then risking it all again. Someone else, deciding after 3 years that they finally wanted to sell their house. Another one, delaying on funds. A buyer delayed on funds. The buyer is with my client. My client delayed on getting their funds. So there's so many stories. So I literally write down from every single client I've closed, I write down what I've learned from them. Here's another one. Another client putting added pressure on themselves. Another one, they just had to trust the process. Another one, choosing business partners wisely. Another one, the whole journey and supporting the other agents. Because there was other times when the other agents didn't really quite know how to write a contract on the other end. So what I learned from that is how I can support other agents in that process as well. So there's a lot that I learned that helps me in both sides of my identities. Okay. So I literally write down all of these stories. So when you think about it, this is like what you want to store in your story bank. You want to have a title. You want to have a headline so you know what the viewer is going to see. Okay. You want to have a situation. What is the problem or challenge that the main character or your customer face? Think of it like setting the scene for your story. I'm going to give you an example of an actual story here in just a minute so you can see it. And I'm going to show you this story, story 1. How about this one? Who's it for? Identify who is most interested in the story. Okay. Parents. Is it your ideal client? Is it first-time home buyer? Is it a seller? Whatever it is. What is the big idea, the key takeaway from the story? What type of story is it? Success story, cautionary tale, behind the scenes, whatever. Okay. And whereabout did you hear it? Sometimes stories are not from personal experience. Sometimes they're because you read something and it clicked. I wrote a post about how I read The Road Less Stupid. I call it Thinking Time. I wrote a post about The Road Less Stupid. I didn't come up with that book. Someone else came up with that book. I learned. So my story was about how I learned from reading a book, right? So you don't always have to be a personal experience. Is this helpful? So when you want to go and incorporate stories, they have to come from you. Someone just asked you to use ChatGPT to get your titles. No, I use Gemini. And the way I do it is I go into Gemini and because I train Gemini. So you need to go back and watch my How to Train AI training. If you haven't watched that, Andy can tag you in it if you'd like. Just raise your hand in the chat. Andy can tag you in that training. You need to watch that training because when you're using AI, I don't just go in and be like, give me 12 story ideas. No. It's not like that. This is why AI is amazing. I use AI for literally everything, just so you know. However, I have trained it my way. And I tell you how in that training. So I go in and I say, okay, I talk to it. I have the app on my phone. So I want to tell a story about my client who explain the story that I just told you in the beginning. I tell that to AI. And then I say, okay, help me come up with a fun, catchy title or whatever it is, whatever I need from it. So that's how I do it. I don't just go in and say, give me 12 titles for a story. Okay. So Suma says, if I tell a story, it takes forever and talk too much. That's where you need to learn how to break those stories down into bits and pieces of the story. When I was first learning how to tell stories, I went on this whole learning how to tell a story years ago, well before I got into real estate. And mostly, I'm going to tell you a secret. It's because I met my husband. And I was like, you know what? I want to do something different. I want him to know my story. And so I was practicing. I'd go walk around and I'd clean my house and I'd be like, so it all began on a Tuesday afternoon at 4:50 p.m. in Renton, Washington on July 10th, 1979. Okay. Boring. Okay. Boring. So Suma, if you're doing something like that,
I know.
take that story and start to break those down and learn like the biggest things. Like the whole key to a story is, what did you learn?
Yeah.
What did you learn? So I'm going to give you an example of the story that I just shared with you in action here. 1 second. I have got to log in because, like I said, I had to get out of Google Chrome. Okay. So let me pull it up and I'll show you an example of what this story looks like online here. And you may have seen this story, so it may not be new to you. You might look at this and be like, oh, I've seen this story. Okay. So the story that I just shared with you, which is this one here, the time I lost everything and started over, lessons in resilience. Okay. Or it's a little bit of both, but it's lessons in resilience. Okay. So I'm sharing a story about who I am. So still to your point, I could talk all day, every day about what it was like to grow up the way I did. Okay. Yeah. I went to Christian school. I did this. Do I go to church now? No, I don't. Right. But is that all necessary for the story? No, it's not. But what's necessary is to understand, like, look, I am adaptable. This is how I can have so many different people in my life, and I can talk to pretty much anybody. You put me in a crowd of anybody and give me the opportunity to connect with them, and I will. Why? Because I had to growing up. It's part of who I am. I love people. Okay. And the great thing about something like this is, like, if you look at these analytics, and LinkedIn analytics are awesome. It's one of my favorite platforms for that reason. But if you look at these analytics, this particular post had 698 impressions. It had over 28 people reacting to it. And I even got 3 personal messages from this post. So stories like this are amazing. And this is also the post, just so you know, this is also the post that it turned into an email that gets me one of the highest unsubscribe rates. I don't know why. I think I have ideas why. But it's the post that turned into an email. This is where people are like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Could it be mixed race? Could it be different cultures, different religions, different political beliefs? I don't know. Could it be they don't like people who are adaptable? I don't know. Who cares? I don't care. But what I do care is that this is a value. This is who I am. This explains a lot about me. So this post goes everywhere. This is on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, email campaigns, maybe even in a newsletter. We'll see how that happens. That is the power of telling stories. Not all your stories have to be this long. I actually have one here that I pulled up for you. This is a simple short story that's in one of my email campaigns. This goes out for, I don't know when, at what point. This is in one of my drip campaigns, my long-term campaigns. And it's literally a quick story. If 2020 taught me one thing, it's the value of our community. Because I don't know how many of you learned that from COVID, but that's what I learned. I was like, man, I really value people. I like people. I can't be around people, and I want people. That's what I learned from that. And so rather than me saying, guess what? I'm featured on the cover of a magazine. I'm a top agent. See what I'm saying? Instead of doing that, I'm like, I have been focused on investing back in my community. So I'm sharing with my community what I'm doing for them. I'm reaching out. I'm part of this magazine because I know that you take value from this. It helps you connect with local communities, local businesses, community events, and it brags about this beautiful city that we call home. So that's a story. Rather than just saying, guess what? I'm amazing. I'm on the cover of a magazine. I sponsor a magazine. Oh my gosh, I've got all these credentials. I'm a top agent, blah, 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 blah. Like, no, I could do that. Because other people do. I totally could. And it might work. I don't know. That's not me. So your stories don't always have to be long ones. Just so you know. Okay. Was that helpful?
Yes.
That is why I call it the lazy lead nurture blueprint. Because it's not lazy putting it together. You can't just go to AI and be like, write me a story. Well, you can. If I see it, I'll call you out on it. Ask anybody who coaches with me. I will call you out on it like that. I see people laughing because it's true. I'm like, did AI write this? Yes. Okay. Don't do it. I can tell. If I can tell, I know what I'm looking for, but I'm also like everybody else. I want to get to know people through content. That's what I'm on content for. Okay. How many of you are registered for my upcoming masterclass on September 25th? Okay, if you have not, Andy's going to plug that in there right now. I need you all to register for that because that is going to be 3 hours of me teaching you how to do this. We're going to write a story. We're going to go in there. We're going to do a workshop, hands-on, learn to write a story. Okay, so Andy's going to plug that link in here for you. If you have not registered, please do. I'm closing the registration at 500. This morning, I have over 250 people registered. So register now, please. And then show up. And there is not going to be a replay. Just so you know. So please don't ask me. Please don't ask. No replay. It's a 3-hour training. So that is why I'm not going to do a replay. I don't have to spend 3 hours teaching people and give a replay out. I don't have to do that. So I'm not going to. But if you know somebody who wants to come and you think they're going to get value from it and you invite them and they register and list your name as the person who invited them and you're both registered, you'll get a replay. That's the only way you're going to get it. You have to invite somebody. You have to register. You have to invite somebody else who also registers. That's it. So don't ask otherwise. No. So there, Rima said, I have a conflict in trying to see if I can miss. Well, I just told you the opportunity to get a replay if that is something that you run into, because I understand people have conflicts, but I'm not going to be sharing that replay. So if you haven't registered, please do. It is free. Okay.
Rima, just use me as the person that referred you, and then we can get the replay.
Well, Molly will get it, but Rima won't. Yeah, you have to. Yeah, they have to have your name and the person. This is who referred me. I know. I like that. I like that, Molly. Though I love it. Let's think about how we can do this. I love it. Just invite somebody else on your team. I know you guys have a big team.
Hasn't registered yet. Please use me as your referral.
There you go. Okay, so Joy has a question that didn't catch that subscription ends today. What was the question, Joy? Can you clarify?
Did you say register? I just fixed it. Did you say registration ends today?
No, I'm saying register fast because I have over 250 registered this morning and it closes at 500.
Okay, great.
And we start ads.
Jumping around. Sorry.
We have a couple of ads running right now, but we start ads in a big way next week. So it's going to fill in really fast.
Okay, because I have a couple people. Okay.
So get them registered and then mark your calendars and block it out right now, please. It's 10 to 1 Pacific time. So Central time is 12 to 3. No. Is that right? 12 to 12 to 3. Thank you for those of you. I can't do math. It's fine. You got it. I'm on Pacific time. So I'm at 10 to 1 Pacific time. Do your math. +1, +2, +3. There you go.
You said it's brokerage agnostic, right? Anybody?
Anybody.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it is a masterclass. If you spend 3 hours with me, you're gonna learn something. And if you want to learn more about how I can actually help you do this on a deeper level, I will actually be sharing that offer with you at the end. So don't get me wrong, there will be an offer there, but you definitely can come and get a ton of value without having to pay for the offer. So there you go. I'll put that out there. Okay, let me just make sure you didn't have any questions here. I'll answered Ellen's questions. Andy, do you have the people who need to be tagged for AI training? You have them written down? Yes? Okay. So Andy's got them down. I see Ellen and Isabel on there. Alex said only awards winning are the ones that don't cost money. Agreed. But there's nothing wrong if you're just starting out or you're just trying to build a brand and you want to pay to get some recognition just so you can use that. There's literally no harm in that or no shame in that. Okay? But also I would encourage you to earn them too. Like actually earn them because it feels a lot better. But there is no shame in getting recognition, so you can use it in marketing. Because I did that in the beginning. I freaking paid for radio ads in the beginning. I didn't even have a business. I was going up these big freaking gift guys. There's one guy here who's sells all over Washington State. He's a big, massive agent. I got so many deals that he didn't get because I was on the radio. Okay? So it's fine. Just there's no shame in that. But when you can learn how to do it without doing that, yay! That's what I feel like. Yay. Okay. Carol also wants to be tagged in the AI training. You got that, Andy? So you got 3 people so far. Okay. Mariella asked for it as well, and so did Suma. So there's 5 people. Got 5 people, Andy? Cool. All right. So next week, I'm going to be, what is our topic next week? Next week, the topic is the secret to effortless conversion. So we've been talking about storytelling. And today I showed you a little bit more about how to do it. Next week, I'm going to show you actually how to effortlessly start converting people with these stories. Okay. And then you're going to come to the masterclass and you're going to learn even more. Okay. Rima, Andrea are also on that list. Andy, you got that? Okay. That's it. All right, everybody have a great day and I'll see you next week.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.